You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more on your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and yesterday I worked 16 hours. And I'm not laughing, I'm trying not to cry, and I'm so tired. No, I think absolutely exhausted would be more accurate. And it just made me go, how in a global pandemic, when we work so many hours or there's so much going on and we're stressed out by all the news that's coming up on our feeds, how can we even try to think of friending? Yes, I'm using it as a verb. How can we be friends, make friends? And well, this week I was inspired by another podcast. Yes, my buddies over at Mouse and Weens. So let me tell you a little bit about them first. And this is from their webpage because I wanted to be super official for all you listeners and also know that their promo is attached to this episode so you can listen and see if they're your cup of tea. And I gotta tell you, they probably are. So definitely get this podcast subscribed up in your favorite podcatcher. But it says, we are Southern California girls living different walks of life. Weens is the younger sister, single, and working in the entertainment industry. Mouse is the older sister, a stay-at-home mom of 3, living in some fancy burbs in San Diego. We might talk childhood memories and teenage adventures, discuss dating, marriage, and family, get deep with philosophy and psychology, or go behind the scenes with entertainers, celebrities, friends, and family. Hopefully we'll see each other's perspectives, although there might be disagreements. But the bottom line is learning about fascinating human behavior and having fun doing so. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. And y'all, they're so funny. Highly recommend. And if you follow who I use as promos, they've probably been used about 97 times. And in fact, I think the last time was 2 weeks ago, and I'm doing it again. So here's what inspired me. I also host a true crime podcast called Fatalities, and I recently did a very difficult, very long term. It took a lot of time to do this episode, but I did an episode on Olympian Oscar Pistorius, who is currently in prison in South Africa for killing his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, after claiming he thought she was an intruder. So I posted a promo, and I have to say my digital marketing director, Amethyst, who is amazing, taught me how to take out backgrounds of images and then place it over other images. So I was really proud of this promo where I had the newspaper articles about what happened in the background in black and white, and over it, it had him as an Olympian in color. And I thought, like I said, I was pretty proud of it. It was really striking. And then I have a retweet from Mouse and Weens. And so they retweeted it with a comment. And it said, name some famous or infamous Oscars. I'll start with the finger pointing down to my promo. And it made me chuckle. But as always, because Mouse and Weens, they're always like this. They're very supportive, sharing the episode. But then you can also look down, you scroll down, and there's a series of people who have commented on the thread with other Oscars, like Oscar from The Office or Oscar the Grouch, and it started a conversation. Friends, it was so simple. It took such little time. It was a little thing, and it meant a lot. It made me think of the quote, friendship isn't a big thing, it's a million little things. And so I feel really strongly about this quote that, it's not just one grand gesture about friendship, that it's the little things that add up that make us friends or help us connect with other people. And so when I went back to find the tweet, what's interesting is I read all these retweets from Mouse and Weens of them supporting all sorts of people, starting conversations. And you know what? It's just really cool, right? That there's just these little things that we can do to connect with other people. And it can be with close friends, right? So there's little things in close friendships. You can text and check in with people. You can do a porch drop off of something that you borrowed plus some cookies that you baked. If anyone needs my address, let me know. I like snickerdoodles. You can share their Etsy shop online. So many small things add up for close friendships. But according to Ian Leslie from BBC in July 2020, close friends are important, And it shouldn't be about doing one big thing. It should be about all the little things that we do. And especially when we're busy and we work 16 hours, we don't have time for big things. It's the little things that we might do to maintain those friendships, to do friends, to be a friend, to make friends, that it's the little things that matter. So we should focus on those. But in this article from Ian Leslie, it talks about close friends are important, but research shows that building networks of casual acquaintances can boost happiness, knowledge, and a sense of belonging. And that was a direct quote from the article. And so he talks about the research of Mark Granovetter, who was a sociology professor at Stanford University. And in 1973, this professor wrote an article called The Strength of Weak Ties. And according to this article from Ian Leslie, it's one of the most influential sociology papers of all time. And basically, it gets at the idea that we've always thought that our well-being and everything that is important to us is dependent on our close friends and our family. But this professor was saying that our weak ties, our acquaintances, are also important, or important in a different way. And so in that article, quote, one way to think about any person's social world is that they have an inner circle of people whom they often talk to and feel close with, and an outer circle of acquaintances whom you see infrequently or fleetingly. Granovetter named these categories strong ties and weak ties. His central insight was that for new information and ideas, weak ties are more important to us than strong ones. So let's think about weak ties. Okay, I don't necessarily like the term because it might communicate that they don't matter, but in fact, they can change our everyday, right? They can change our mood. They can be the folks that do a solid for us, that close friends might not be able to do, right? And so I think I like in this article that they talk about that weak ties, that's where we might learn new things, we might get new ideas, but the article also talks about how a chance meeting, running into them at the grocery store, running into them at work, which might be a little harder now. I mean, sometimes I think I've walked by someone I know in the grocery store and I'm like, I don't know, we all have masks on. Like, I don't know who's who, right? But the idea is that there's these chance meetings and they can really increase and boost our day, right? It really makes it more positive and fun, and that there's a source of novelty, right? That we are really spending time with these close friends and family members, but that there's something new and different when you run into your casual acquaintances. So maybe we'll call them strong ties and casual ties. I like that better. Sorry, Dr. Granovetter. I'm best forevers. We're going to call them casual ties. But when we went into lockdown in March, I thought actively about what I could do more for myself to stay connected. So it's not just staying connected with my close ties, my close friends, but it's also thinking about how can I stay connected when I can't see people I normally see, or I can't talk to people I normally talk to. What are ways in which just to feel connected? What are some little things that I can do to be sure that I feel connected to other people, right? So I'm going to talk about a couple of the things that I've done, and then talk a little bit more about what we can do with these casual ties. Okay, so one of the things that I did, and my brother Jeff inspired this, and we were talking on the phone, and we were talking about, we all, okay. When I talk to my brother, I feel like, and he probably would agree, that at least 30% of what we talk about are quotes from the movie Friday, which came out in 1995 with Ice Cube. And we love that movie, and so we just always quoting it to each other. And so we were just talking about, like, that is one of the greatest comedies of all time. And I was just like, well, what other comedies do you think would be in your top 5, something like that? And so we were talking about that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Facebook and I'm going to ask people what their top 5 comedy movies are. And I just posted it, and then I got all these comments back. So I was like, okay, let's turn this into question of the day. So every single day, I have an alarm on my phone because I would forget otherwise. Every day between 7 and 8, I post a question on my Facebook feed, and then I see how people are going to respond. And I respond to people. We have conversations. There's lots of gifts and things like that. But what I love about it, it's so fun to see how my Facebook friends, which include a wide range of people, right? These are former colleagues, people I went to graduate school with, former, current, future students, CMU folks, people I work with, friends from elementary school, middle school, high school, clubs I was in, podcasters like Mouse and Weens, right? Like there's so many different people, my family, like I could go on and on about the diversity and of my Facebook network in terms of what represents my life, right? And so it's just super fun to see these Facebook friends interact with each other, right? Someone that I was introduced through someone else, communicating with a former student that they have never met, or a podcaster communicating with one of my closest friends. And it's just super fun to see how people interact with each other. And all it might take is me posing a question. And it's super fun to see how people respond to me, or the back and forth, or the jokes people make. And it's really been a positive in life since March, since the global pandemic hit in the United States, right? So all it takes is questions, and the questions range from what's your favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movie? And that really sort of got people going about Nightcrawler and how that's everyone's favorite movie. And I was like, gosh, I haven't seen Nightcrawler since the theater. Let me watch Nightcrawler. And then later you might see people post, oh, I'm watching this Jake Gyllenhaal movie. Or people just talk about like, oh, this is his best one, but I really have a soft spot for this one. And all this conversation about Jake Gyllenhaal. Or it could be one of the most popular ones was, what is your favorite romantic comedy? Pancakes or waffles? What is your love language? What did you want to be when you grew up? Like I have so many different questions, and I might just pick a question randomly. I might look one up on the internet. I might think about what's going on in life and then post a question based on what I experienced that day. Yesterday, when I worked the 16 hours, I was like, people tell me something good. I need to hear it. So everyone was telling me all the good things in their life. So it's just one of those things where a question a day, it's super little. It doesn't take a lot of time to come up with a question. And then I post it, I find a GIF or I find a picture online that goes with it. And then people respond, right? But it adds up, because I'll then have a friend that says, I was going to leave Facebook, but I can't. And then she listed all the reasons why she couldn't leave Facebook. And one of the reasons was seeing the fun questions that Alysa posts every day. And I did that so that I could stay connected with people. Like, let's have these small conversations. That's something small. Okay, so the second thing I did when we went into lockdown in March was we moved abruptly from face-to-face classes at my university to remote, as many people did across the country. And so I had just a few days to sort of translate my classes, which were very different: a lecture class, a hands-on class, and then a capstone performance class. How do you translate those online? And so I found that I was working a lot of hours and doing online. There's all these, talking about little things, there's all these little tech things that you need to be on top of, or you need to have more reminders because no one knows what's going on. And so it's like trying to figure this all out. So I found that I just kept working. And at a certain point I was like, well, I need to stop for the day and I need to have some time for myself. Talk about self-care. And so I was like, okay, well, it was my dad's birthday right before we went into lockdown, and I got him Knives Out for his birthday. And I never get this, but I got him the Blu-ray, but inside they also have the DVD, and he gave me the DVD, and it was like, wow, a birthday present for someone else ends up as a bonus gift for me. That's not what I was planning, but thank you. So later that week, I was like, all right, I'm going to watch Knives Out. I saw it in the theater, but I haven't seen it since. So let's get this going. And I posted about it. And then everyone's like, oh, this is a great movie. Oh, I haven't seen it yet. And there was a lot of conversation. So I have an alarm on my phone that goes off at 8:00. That's like movie of the day. And I was doing that more. There are some days where I don't watch movies at all. And there have been some days where I've laid on the couch and watched like 5 movies in a row. So at this point, I'm keeping track of them. And I'm over 270 movies that I have watched since approximately March, 13th. And I watch movies and then I post about it on Facebook or on Twitter, and then it starts conversations, or I'll text my brother and say, Michael, today I was watching this movie. What do you think about it? Have you seen it in a while? I think it was Copland. That was the most recent one I texted him about. And then I asked him, hey, have you seen 1917 yet? And just like starting conversations with some of my close ties through something really small that I'm doing by watching a movie. And I've watched movies, it's also been a way to cope with everything going on. So I've watched movies from my childhood. I've watched Disney movies. I've watched movies I've never seen before. I was going through an action phase, then I was in a romance phase, then I was in a thriller phase. I've seen some newer movies like 1917, The Invisible Man, Bombshell, and Birds of Prey. And then I even watched the Care Bears movie, which is absolutely atrocious. But when I was a kid, I loved the Care Bears, but it was still, reminiscent. So it's like when you post about it, people are like, oh my God, my favorite Care Bear was this, or, those sorts of things. So I think it's something small that you can do. I post about what I'm watching and people respond to that. I don't post everything because I don't want people to think I'm bonkers or bananas. But here's the thing. I watch so much TV. I watch so much. Basically, the only time I don't watch TV is when I'm teaching, podcasting, or sleeping. Otherwise, something is on and I'm watching it. It's just always something that I love to do. So on this podcast, I always say, I came out of my mom's womb looking for Friends, but then I probably also came out looking for Friends and then being like, so what's on TV? What are we watching? So, and even recently, my friend Rachel over at the Hallmarkies podcast, where we do an episode once a month from a friendship lens. It's called On Friendship. So we watch a Hallmark movie and then we discuss friendship. And that's been a lot of fun. We've been doing it for over a year. And then she had me on to do a special episode to talk about all the movies I've been watching. And she talked about what she was watching and sort of what it did for me, what movies I enjoyed, which ones I did not. And, additionally, so check out the link. You can listen to what I had been watching. I think at that point I was at 200. Or was I at 250? It was recent, but I can't even remember anyway. One of my podcaster friends on Facebook, when I said, I don't know what day it is, and she's like, every day is Blur's Day. And I was like, that is accurate. But you can check that out. The link to that episode is in the show notes, and that would be super fun to listen to if you're like looking for some recommendations, right? And that's something else. It's like by posting about some of these things, whether it's a question of the day about your favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movie or talking about what I'm watching, one of the things that I found is that not only does it spark conversation, connections with a wide range of people in my Facebook feed, but it also provides recommendations, or people are like, have you seen this yet? Or people tag me in things. This movie is cute, add it to your list, because I have a Google Drive and I'll put that in show notes and y'all can look at it and let me know if I need to add anything, or I can't believe you watched that. And what you'll see is that there's a column for the movies I've watched. There's a column for the TV shows I've watched or I'm watching. There's a column for docs and for like comedy specials. So not precisely movies, but still movies, right? So you could probably add a whole bunch onto the 270. And then I have a column of sort of like movies I'd like to watch at some point. And, I just haven't watched them yet. And so you can let me know what I should add to it. But additionally, what I want to talk about here, though, that is something small, a little thing for yourself, right? I post a question of the day so I could connect with people. And then I started watching a movie a night for myself to relax. And then it starts connection. But a little thing that can help when we are dealing with so much stress and we can't get out there and be with our friends, or we can't get out there and make friends, that by watching the TV shows or watching the movies, what it does is boost the connection with parasocial relationships. So I've talked about parasocial relationships on the podcast before, but just as a reminder, these are one-sided friendships that we have with TV characters or personalities, right? And so I watch Big Brother, although I have lots of thoughts and opinions about how they choose players, whether or not competitions are rigged, and how it's always like the popular kids always beat the non-popular kids, and that really irritates me. So if you're a Big Brother fan, let me know and we can talk about it on Twitter or whatever. But one of the things is you get connected to these people and you watch several days a week. Big Brother's on 3 times a week. I have 2 friends that I text with. So it's something small. We're watching Big Brother. We text back and forth. But it also helps boost these connections with just other human life, right? And so, yeah, they're not the same as having connections with our close friends. But I would consider these weak ties, right? So I would consider acquaintances casual ties. Parasocial relationships are weak or weaker ties because they're not actually our friends, but there is this level of comfort, familiarity, and just feeling connected to humans, which I think we definitely need during a pandemic and in our political climate and culture right now. There's just so much going on. It's hard to keep up. And then you're busy doing work and all you want to do is take a nap or hang out with your friend or go to the movies. And none of those things can necessarily happen. So what are some of the other ways in which we can connect? And that's one of the things that I saw fit for me at the start of lockdown was having these parasocial connections as well. So those are 2 things I've done since lockdown. So I'd be really interested to hear what are some of the things that you have done during lockdown to make small connections with other people, whether they be close ties, casual ties, or weak ties. And so I would additionally say here that these are 2 things that I did to be able to connect with a wide range of people and just anyone in my Facebook. So I wasn't pinpointing someone specifically saying like, I want to connect with you. It's like, I want to connect and bring everyone together was the idea. But there's also little things like I talked about at the top of the podcast. You can send a text and check in with a close friend, but you can also do that with your casual ties. So I'm in my 2nd week at the university and transitioning into our teaching for the semester is hard, right? It's like there's a lot to worry about. There's lots of things to be doing. I feel behind on everything. But one of the things is when I texted a casual tie, it did feel good. So checking in, sending a text, sending a meme, checking in, seeing if they want to do, as I talked about last week, doing coffee over Zoom or just checking in and talking about strategies for your workplace. Now, I'm teaching, so I would want to talk to some of my teacher friends and be like, okay, what are you doing? And so that really, again, new information, new ideas, a source of novelty is something different, having those conversations. And I did have one of those with a close colleague just before school started, and it was energizing. And sometimes I think just even a 20-minute interaction with someone can help us move forward with everything that's going on, move forward in life and still feel connected. Again, it's these little things. What little things can we do for our close friends, but also what are the little things that we can do for our casual ties and our weak ties? And that's what I was thinking about. Like I said, this episode was inspired by a retweet and the fact that I'm so busy and so it seems difficult to friend, and today is another long day and tomorrow's going to be a long day. Recorded this episode. I feel good about doing this thing, recording it and getting it out there, getting my ideas out there. But what can I do today? Okay, so here's a couple things that I can do today. Well, number 1, there'll be a question of the day. So that's exciting. Oh, and if you have suggestions for questions of the day, please at me on all the socials, Best Forevers Pod. Love it. And maybe I'll start posting. Oh, I'm going to start posting question of the day on Best Forevers Twitter. A. Oh, hey, today is just like, hey, this makes me think of. So maybe not as planned out as previous episodes, and that's okay, right? But it makes me think about, since January, I started doing these monthly challenges as part of Best Forevers, and the first one had everything to do with friendship. And it's basically, I post a day, and it's like, what's your favorite book on this topic? Or, there was a book theme one month, there was a friendship theme, this month is self-care, I think next month is going to be TV, so there's all these ideas of little things. So every day I post in the Facebook group. It's Best Forevers Pod on Facebook, and you can join in, and basically I post every day, and then people comment, and then every Saturday I post a GIF. What are you doing today? And people post it. Again, it's these little small things to feel connected. And sometimes it's not always about our very close friendships. We just need to feel connected with other people. And yes, those close friendships are important. Do little things for your friends, but also let's do little things for ourselves to connect with other people. And so I thank you to Mouse and Weens for doing something so small as a retweet. And for that adds up, because I can say they're one of the most supportive pods out there in the world. They are two supportive ladies, and I'm so glad to call them podcast friends. So tell me, what are some of the little things you do for your close friends, for casual ties or weak ties? Let me know. I'm on all the socials at Best Forevers Pod, as well as you can email me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to check out any of the podcasts that I host, and including the upcoming one, Unrequited, you can go to alysalucas.com. So until next time, friends, think about the little things you can do to connect with others, because without our friends, whether they be close ties or casual ties, who'd we be? Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com, and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
Hi, this is Mouse.
I'm Weens.
We have the Mouse and Weens podcast. I'm the mom that lives in suburbia with 3 kids.
I'm alone.
She's the hot Hollywood
Cat lady.
And we have a fun podcast where we talk about life, love, and
Loneliness.
pubic hair. Come on.
Sorry.
We hope you come take a listen to us. We're on all the platforms, and we will see you soon.
I have PMS.